Hello everyone, welcome to the session 19 of E-Content Development, Karnataka University, Dharwad. I am Suresh Metgar, Assistant Professor of English, Government First Grade College, Bhatkal. In this session, I would like to discuss about a poem, How Do I Love Thee by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. In this session, just I'm going to discuss about Elizabeth Barrett Browning and background of this poem, and also form and other structural aspects of this poem. So, what is the objective of studying this poem? It enables students to familiarize with poet and her major works. It introduces background of the poem, and it enables students to understand the formal aspects of the poem. Outcome will be students will be familiarized with writer and her major works, and students will be able to understand and analyze formal aspects of the poem. Formal aspect means structural aspects of the poem. Students will be able to interpret the poem on the basis of the background because sometimes it is not possible to understand the context and intended meaning, though in structural and post-structural analysis the text is given more importance, yet the context and writer are important in analyzing and giving a complete meaning to a literary work, that may be poem or anything. So now let us see something about the writer, that is Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Elizabeth Barrett Browning is an important poet of Victorian age. She was a very popular poet of her age, that is when she was alive, that is in her lifetime she was very popular writer. Even Robert Browning appreciated her poem, and before he met her and married her, he appreciated her poem and he wrote letter to her, and then they met each other and fell in love with each other and secretly married. After marriage, she wrote many love poems. Especially those love poems are collected in sonnets from Portuguese and other poems, and that is why all those love poems are there. And this How Do I Love Thee is one of those love poems collected in sonnets from Portuguese and other poems. And she was born on 6th March 1806. She started writing at the early age of 11, and she was, as I said, she was admired by Robert Browning, and he wrote a letter, and they met and they married each other secretly, and she started writing love poems to him. And even the American poets like Edgar Allan Poe and Emily Dickinson were influenced by her. And she was not having, when she was young and she was still living with her father, she was not having good health. Because of that reason, she had many feelings, that is bad feelings about life and other things. And at the same time, her possessive father was very restrictive. He restricted her like anything, and she was fed up with those conditions which were there in her house. And finally she started writing poems, and those poems were very popular, and Robert Browning also saw those poems, and he met her, and secretly they married each other. And when they married each other secretly, then she started writing poems. And How Do I Love Thee is an important poem which was written to Robert Browning. It is important because it is the most popular poem of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Before going to see that background and all, that's what I said, background. Let us see her important works. And she has written many collections of poems, and one among them is a collection of poems which was published in 1844, and another poem called Aurora Leigh, which was published in 1856. And sonnets from Portuguese and other poems are also written, and these sonnets actually speak about her love to her husband, that is Robert Browning. And background of this poem, that's what I said. When she was very popular during her lifetime, many she had already written many poems, and her poems had become popular. And even Robert Browning, when he saw her poems, and he admired, and he wrote letter to her in admiration of those poems, and they met each other just because of that admiration for poetry. Then later they loved and married each other, and when they secretly married each other, she was writing love poems to her husband Robert Browning, and How Do I Love Thee is one of such love poems written to her husband. Now let us see the form and other structural aspects of the poem. How Do I Love Thee is a sonnet. Sonnet means 14-line poem, which has two kinds of sonnets, that is Petrarchan sonnet and Shakespearean sonnet, that is a British sonnet. In Petrarchan sonnet, first 8 lines and next 6 lines are divided. In Shakespearean sonnet, they have 4 quatrains and 1 couplet. So here Elizabeth Barrett Browning has followed Petrarchan model of sonnet, because in those days, especially in Victorian age, woman writer was not recognized, means woman writer was not given importance. That is why she wanted to hide her recognition, or her name, or her identity. That is why she wrote that poems as if those poems were written by a foreigner, that is from French or from Italy, such kind of. That is why she wrote that Petrarchan sonnet from Italy, a Petrarchan model of sonnet. And rhyme scheme of that sonnet is A B B A B B A C D C D C D. That is a typical Petrarchan rhyme scheme. So that's what I say. It is a Petrarchan model of sonnet. Now let me conclude this session here only. And the next session I am going to discuss about theme and other literary devices and other aspects of the poem. So to conclude, I may say that Elizabeth Barrett Browning is an important poet of Victorian era, and she has written many poems, a collection of poems, and Aurora Leigh and How Do I Love Thee are important poems of those poems. And How Do I Love Thee is a love poem written to her husband Robert Browning. This poem is a sonnet of a Petrarchan model. So I have written some multiple choice questions also on this poem. I would like to read those questions also. Elizabeth Barrett Browning started writing the poetry at the age of 11. Elizabeth Barrett Browning influenced Edgar Allan Poe and Emily Dickinson, that is American poets. How Do I Love Thee is a Petrarchan sonnet, and sonnet from Portuguese and others is written by this is Elizabeth Browning. The meter used in How Do I Love Thee is iambic pentameter. Thank you.